Slaine, the Horned God. Kiss my axe. Slaine is one of 2000 AD's most distinctive properties, and it is one of the few strips which is not set in the future, but instead in the distant past. Writer Pat Mill's retelling and reimagining of the Celtic myths. A warrior with the gift of warp spasm that allows Slaine to become a superhuman beast, his story started out with him as a wanderer, exiled from his tribe. Having met the greedy and lecherous dwarf Ukko, the two formed an unlikely and often amusing friendship, which has propelled him through a whole host of adventures that has seen the barbarian's standing rise until he returned to his tribe and became king, which is where the action picks up in Slaine, the Horned God, as he seeks to unite the tribes of the earth goddess Danu and defeat Slaufeg and the Fomorian demons who have plagued his land since the early days of the strip. The Horned God is probably the best known and best loved of the Slaine storylines, in no small part thanks to the astonishing artwork of 2000 AD legend Simon Bisley. It's hard to understate what an impact this particular story made in 2000 AD readers when it was first released. Cover and centre spread pages aside, pages of the Galaxy's Greatest Comic had been illustrated solely in black and white. In 1988 that began to change as more colour was introduced to the comic, and the Horned God was one of the first storylines to get the full colour treatment. Already a fan favourite from his black and white work on the ABC Warriors, Simon Bisley not only exceeded expectations, he completely shattered them. It remains some of the most outstanding and beautiful artwork to ever feature in 2000 AD to this day, and it was so successful that the genie was out of the box. Colour strips were the future for 2000 AD. In this series of Slaine, there was far more focus on the characters and less on the action that had dominated the early Slaine series, which in fairness was a continuation of the storytelling established in the preceding Slaine the King arc. Happily for the audiobook adaptation, the Horned God book and audiobook open with an episode devoted to telling the story of Slaine's journey to that point, so those who are unfamiliar with the previous adventures are immediately brought up to speed. What follows is a slow build as the story weaves a heady, dreamlike mix of politics, intrigue and mysticism. With an evocative but calming soundtrack, the audiobook draws you into the dreamlike fantasy of Slaine's world, complete with the sound of underwater seascapes, the forging of steel, and even the growls of Slaine's dragon, the Knucker. And of course, when they come, you get to hear all the clashes and chaos of the battles. Slaine fans will always have imagined the characters as having an Irish lilt, but there's something quite special about hearing the voices of so many of the strip's famous characters: Maeve, Slaufeg, Neve, Nest, the Earth Goddess Danu, and of course the hero himself and his trusty sidekick Ukko. All of the voice performances worked for me, but I particularly appreciated Jerry O'Brien's take on Ukko, as he resisted the temptation that there must have been to go over the top. Ukko's such a fun character, but the way O'Brien has played him, he feels grounded and real, that despite some of his odious traits. The segments where we hear a very old Ukko as narrator, often filled with amusing diversions and exchanges between himself and Nest, were among my favourites. I also greatly enjoyed Slaufeg and Avagdu's appearances, although the voice actors do get to have a bit more fun with those gruesome characters. Oh, and I learned that I had been mispronouncing quite a few of the Celtic names, so that was all helpful to hear. Though the strip famously mentions that Slaine is pronounced Schlonye, but he's most definitely Slaine in this. Overall, it's another wonderful audiobook which enriches the source material, and I'd say it's indispensable for all Slaine fans, and that you'll not find it too many to add this to your audiobook collection.